to do a lesson on food chains and ecosystems. This is a science standard. We will develop a model to describe the movement of matter among plants, animals, decomposers, and the environment, which is essentially called a food chain. First, we're going to go over our vocabulary words. I have given you the words, the definitions, and an example of each. So we'll start with producer. A producer is something that makes its own food, such as the grass. A consumer feeds on plants or animals. And there are two different consumers here. We have a primary consumer, which is the grasshopper, and then we have the secondary consumer, which is the frog. The frog is a secondary consumer because it eats the grasshopper that has essentially eaten the grass first. The herbivore feeds on plants. For example, a cow eats on grass. An omnivore eats both plants and animals. We as humans are considered omnivores because we eat both meat, such as cows, which is an animal, and plants, such as lettuce. Then we have a carnivore that eats other animals, like this lion right here. And then a decomposer. A decomposer decomposes dead material or breaks down dead material, for example, these mushrooms. So those are our vocabulary words for today. We are going to pop on over to this video that tells us all about food chains.
Dear Tim and Moby, are plants always at the bottom of the food chain? From Dwog. In any given ecosystem, all living things are linked together by what they eat. Organisms depend on each other for nourishment to survive, and this joins them together in something called a food chain. In this one lake, there are many different food chains at work. Plant plankton are eaten by small animals, say shrimp. Shrimp are eaten by fish, which are eaten by even bigger fish until the bears that hang around the lake decide to go fishing. What would happen if we caught every last shrimp in the lake and had a big barbecue? Well, the fish that depend on the shrimp for food would go hungry, and the population would dwindle. And if there weren't any fish, then the bears would go hungry too. Disruptions in the food chain can work the other way too. If all the bears ran off to join the circus, the population of large fish that the bears normally eat would grow out of control. They'd get themselves into trouble by quickly eating all their food. Food chains aren't the whole story. They often combine to form complex food webs containing many interconnected and overlapping chains. A food web has three major elements: producers, consumers, and decomposers. Plants make up the bulk of the world's producers. They are able to make their own food using photosynthesis, a process that harnesses the energy of the sun. Producers are the largest part of any food web, and you can find them at the bottom of all food chains. Organisms that eat other living organisms are called consumers. They can't make their own nourishment from sunlight, so they get it by eating the producers. Humans are consumers, as well as birds and cows and millions of other species. Primary consumers eat the producers. Animals that eat plants are examples of primary consumers, and they're also called herbivores. Secondary consumers are the organisms that eat the primary consumers. These are carnivores, or meat eaters. Some animals, like humans, are called omnivores because they eat both meat and plants. There are other kinds of consumers too. Parasites are small organisms that live on the bodies of other organisms, using up the victim's energy. Scavengers eat the carcasses of other dead animals. Decomposers are mostly bacteria and fungi. Decomposers cause the mold that grows on your bread, but they also do all sorts of good stuff like breaking down dead animals and plants into reusable elements and recycling nutrients back into the food web. Humans have to be more careful to protect every species in the world. Just about every species on the planet, no matter how insignificant it seems, is vital to the food web. If even the smallest plant or animal becomes extinct, the consequences will ripple throughout the food web, causing environmental chaos for every species concerned, including us. It's hard to predict exactly what will happen, but one thing's for sure. I don't want to be around if that bear doesn't get his dinner.
So that movie told you a little bit more about food chains and food webs. So when we do the live lesson, we will play this game right here, the food chain game. So that way you guys can practice putting the different animals into the food chain where you think they're supposed to go. Okay, so this is your assignment for after you watch the video. This is an ecosystem sort. So it says sort the animals into the following ecosystems based on your knowledge of each different ecosystem. And I've given you some hints. So here we have the forest, which is an area covered by trees. Then we have the desert, which is a barren, hot landscape. Barren means there's nothing on it. It's bare. Then we have the tundra, which is permanently frozen. And then we have a grassland, which is a large area of grass. So, when you do your assignment, I just want you to write these down on notebook paper. And then you'll take a look at each of these pictures. Now, if you want to, you can number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then write which number goes where. So, if you look at the pictures, you can kind of tell by either the background or how the animal looks as to where it belongs in each ecosystem. Now, there will be 2 animals per ecosystem. Pay attention, like I said, to the backgrounds in the pictures. Do a process of elimination if you can. I know some of these animals you have never seen before. There was 1 or 2 I had never seen before either. So we're all learning together. So remember, on your notebook paper, write down forest, desert, tundra, grassland. Number the animals if you need to, and then write what number each one belongs under. So that's your assignment. When we come and do the lesson together, we're going to do a Nearpod activity to cover our math standard, which is on coordinate planes. So make sure that you have the Nearpod app downloaded. It's a blue app and it says Nearpod. Make sure that's downloaded on one of your devices so we can have it for our activity. And then here are the reminders. Make sure to answer all the questions in the lesson, which was that chart, and to make sure you have Nearpod downloaded. Continue to read and take AR tests. We recommend 2 a week, just like if we were in school. Remember, you can get on Epic and read those books. We want you to complete 20 minutes each of math and reading iReady a day, and then complete the Science A to Z lessons that are still on ecosystems. So I hope you have fun doing your chart, and I will see you soon.